Yes, great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to E2 E Square, Epistemic Entrepreneur, the media dedicated to science, technology, and innovation. Here we have a great guest, but just before I introduce our guest, I would like to introduce my co-host, Dr. Benjamin Del Sol. He's a quantum physicist, former researcher, and now European patent attorney based in Switzerland. Hello, Benjamin. How are you?
Very fine, thank you, Harry. Very happy to be here.
Great, great. And our guest today is Sina. Sina, sorry, just just I have a setting that is popping up. Sorry, okay, just it was a setting issue. Okay, our
Okay,
guest
no,
today
that's
is
it.
Dr. Sina
Shahandeh.
Shahandeh. He's a computer scientist by training, of a serial entrepreneur, tech entrepreneur, and now he would like to talk about a very important subject that is how to enable artificial intelligence to be good at math. Am I right, Sina?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes, yes, yeah. Thank you very much
Maybe
for
we'll
the
talk about
introduction.
a little bit about your background and 5 minutes just to let the audience to know you better. Do you agree with this 5 minute warm up?
Sure, sure.
Great.
Yeah. So yeah, let me start with just my story is coming technically background in computational physics. I did my PhD in University of British Columbia in Vancouver, and then after that, basically I worked on a large scale computational model, ran numerical simulation in supercomputers at the time. That one of the biggest supercomputers in Canada, and then I after that I basically moved to Toronto and started a company on image processing and basically building software as a service for image processing. So that venture didn't go out. After a year, we launched the product. We had our users using it and all that, but we couldn't raise funding and we couldn't monetize very effectively. So we abandoned that, and then I joined three other startups as a head of data science, so I can switch to the world of data and leverage some of my background in computation and numerical modeling. Um, so three other companies was the head of data, starting data teams, and later on, my last company, I was VP of data that had an exit of $770 million over the 4 years, 5 years that I was there. So after that, I started. I think the theme of this, your talks and like your audience probably are into transitioning from academia maybe to entrepreneurship, or people who are coming from a certain academic background. They like to do startups, and you know, my journey going back again, trying to do startups again out of that time, out of that exit. So I'm experimenting in the past 2 years on and off on this idea around building a mathematical model of socioeconomical systems. And what I kind of realized is, people who, if you imagine, if you have a digital twin of the economy and digital twin of the society, so that how awesome it would be, like so many use cases for like hedge funds and like banks and like governments and all that to use. So I started from that thesis, and then realized, kind of question of product market fit and question of like who would buy it, is that probably institutions are not really ready to be exposed to like or use these kind of complex computational models. Then I realized, okay, well, probably um, individuals would benefit the most from these models of economy and finance, because they're like left out with no ability, with no choice. And then basically that kind of journey through me take me through the personal finance space, and then the product that right now I'm experimenting with is this concept of building having a financial model um, of the personal finance, which is a very simple model. But yet alone, it's very hard to do it in Excel. But we'll code it into a program, and we have the ability to a no-code interface to be able to interact with that software, with that model, and then we have ChatGPT to help us understand, help to guide the person. Because what I realize is that the pain points is that people have a hard time understanding of um, the model itself, the concept of modeling. Like if I say I want to buy a house, how would I turn it into a mathematical model? And I think what I'm trying to help is can say a language model with its reasoning capability and knowledge capability come in and help me, guide me through that process, and then build help me to build the model, and then be able to inquire about the model, and then work with the model. And that's kind of the experiment that I'm right now conducting with the plan with Flow. That's kind of a bit, maybe a long version of my story here.
No, no, great. It's great. The how you ended to this idea is very important because we all want to understand how, you know, we all want to understand how, you know, idea emerge, on what base, on what basement, you know. Very
Yeah.
important. And also your background to makes you very legitimate to talk about such idea. Maybe Benjamin, you would like to
No,
go ahead.
I mean it's great because when you talk, for example, of digital economic twin, I see all the many use cases that we can imagine, and it's wow, and I think it will be probably possible and to implement it, and to I think companies will be quite interesting by that in less than 2 years, probably. And of course, using your skills to help personal finance, I think it's a great quest, first of all, because it's very important. I think there is a lack of wealth education in many countries, so I think it can be a powerful tool for a lot of people. So very great idea, and please,
Yeah.
let's go.
I know physicists really like the digital twin of the
Yeah, yeah.
world, or digital twin of society. That's kind of interesting,
Yeah, yeah,
exciting.
but it's at the same time, my brother is a trader, and I have worked with him quite a lot on designing some models to understand the markets, and to make some expert advisors and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm quite aware of the financial world, and yes, your work is great. I mean, very impressive.
Okay, yeah, that's the idea. But we'll see.
Sina, maybe just we follow up on the presentation you would like to share with us. Maybe I usually I like to, you know, to see what, from where, uh, from where is your, you know, the forest, um, let's say, motivation to become scientist. Um, was it you were just good at school, you know, or would you discover science in high school? I know this is kind of
Yeah.
uh, out of the subject, but I like to, you know, to understand better people. So how do you ended to become a scientist and entrepreneur? You explained it, entrepreneurship, but why the love of science? Where does it come from?
Yeah, so it goes back all the way to childhood, and I think my dad was an engineer. Um, he actually got a degree. He spent like 11 years. He studied in Germany, and then he moved back to Iran. So I was there, and then my mom was a actually early education, like child education expert. So she had like books around. She's written books around creativity and like mathematical creativity and this type of thing. So I think it probably comes from lots of their education and the way they harness that kind of sense of curiosity. I remember I was a kid. I had a little in our basement. I had a lab with
Wow.
like it's like when I say lab is like all these like chemicals. And I remember going in high school, going to these like these shops they selling chemicals. It's like, can I have like 1 liters of the sulfuric acid? And like I had like all sorts of acids and like crazy like like tools and experiments. And I was doing like crazy stuff with the hydrogen balloons and exploding things. Was yeah. So yeah, I remember I wanted to be like I want to lead a like a science team. Like I want to be like head of NASA or something like that.
Mm.
At what time? But yeah, so that's kind of where the story comes.
And how did you choose precisely the discipline you wanted to study in? Because you could have studied biology or chemistry, or and why specifically the way you choose
Yeah,
you
I wanted
chose?
to do physics from early on. Like in high school, I participated in a physics Olympiad, like where the kids. I wasn't very good, like top the country selected, or like maybe top 800 in the country or something like that. Um, but then later on, yeah, I later on went to the engineering because physics doesn't pay a lot. That's a good recommendation from my dad. But then later on, when I finished my master's and PhD, then I kind of pushed myself back to the world of physics and did like all computational topics.
Great, great. Thanks for this for sharing that. It's always great to know where this science things
Yeah.
comes up in people.
Yeah. That's funny because Benjamin's nodding her head. You're laughing at the story as I'm saying it. So
Yes, because that remembers me a lot of my childhood.
yeah,
I had a lab too. I was playing with chemistry and
yeah,
electronics, and my mom was always, don't touch that,
yeah,
don't do that,
yeah,
stuff like that. So yes, I perfectly understand, and it's
yeah.
a great souvenirs.
Yes. Mhm.
Little biologists or psychopath, they kill flies, little
Oh,
chemists or little terrorists, they do explosive in the back in the background, and the little physicists are also kind of crazy little guys too.
I know. We're
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. So Sina, maybe you prepared something to show, or
Yeah, I can give you a little bit of box. Is it yeah, it's a screen
you can
shareable.
share, of course.
Yeah, I can. So okay, so let me just talk about like how do we get language models to think mathematics, and how do we build something where it's a interface between mathematics and language models. That's really that's what we people were here for, if any. So we let me share the screen here. I understand. Let's proceed. Okay, I'm going to share this one window here. Um, yeah. So yeah, as we let me just make this a bit smaller. I think for resolution is better, right? Is it better now?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
The
yes.
thing gets bigger, right? Okay. So look, the story here is yeah. So we just talk about it, right? So we want to basically the idea here is, I think if you look at, just give you one more overall like abstract view, is around, if you look at LLMs now, and like people are scared of it as like AI will fake content, and like they look at it as bad things are happening. And I see a huge potential in AI in language models specifically to help us be more rational, like help humanity become rational as an augmentation tool.
Mm,
And if you think about it, it's a bit different than like how you use it for like generating like farm content farm of stuff or sell your product and like things like that. But like really focusing on how do we get the concept of rationality out. And I think these are the backgrounds that I'm coming from, building mathematical models of physical world. And what I'm trying to do right now is building mathematical models of socioeconomical systems. So if we can build now, why is mathematical model is important is because it just basically reduces the interworking of the society into these pieces that are easy to quantify and easy to understand. Then you can kind of like when you model something mathematically, you really understand it. It's even deeper than just physics of the system. They say like, well, yeah, if I make the water hot, it's going to boil. But if you just like really understand the quantitative that process, it helps you. So how do we now? Let's get to the language model. So something that people also not very aware, I think, when you think about language model, they think about it as like content generation, like the language capability of it, and lots of people think about it as a knowledge resource. It's like Google it, or Google, like they ask questions like Google or something. What language models can do, and one of the emergent properties of them when they get big enough, is this ability to reason. So if you use them as a reasoning machine, like a reasoning calculator. That's what we want to do. And you see in this talk, in this application of LLM is, yeah, we'll use them to generate text, human natural language, but or use them for NLU, like natural language understanding. But I also want them to use them for reasoning, mathematical reasoning. And if you look at this example of the capability of it, so here is ADA model. We can do these tests as you scale these models. So if you ask a question like, if A bigger than if A is bigger than B and B is bigger than C, then what can be said about the relative size of A and C? Right. So it's like that like that chart, right? It's like you want to do this deductive reasoning of the sizes. So ADA, which is I don't know if it's less than a billion it just says it's difficult to know which one's bigger. And then if you go to GPT for all, which is a 7 billion model, I ran it on my own laptop. You can run it on CPU, with a max CPU. It takes a very long time. Uh, if you say if A bigger than B, the same question, it says A cannot exceed both C and B, like hallucinates. Again, these are like hallucinates. Again, like you repeat the same question to generate again. It says if A bigger than B and B bigger than C, then it follows that A is less than like equal to B is like it's garbage, right? So it's the 7 billion models cannot. They're actually very good at language generation. 7 billion model can talk about it, like you can just like literally talk. How are you? Tell me like poems, like written and stuff. But 7 billion models cannot do reasoning. And then when you go to this bigger model, but then you start saying that okay, now it's able to actually answer the question. So now C is bigger than A, so C is bigger than both. Oh, sorry, this actually that's also wrong, right? And then let me go to the one that actually responds. The one that correctly responds is GPT 3.5, and it
Yes.
stated very nicely. So it says if A bigger than B and bigger than C, then it can be concluded that A is bigger than B, bigger than C as well, and so on. And GPT-3, and now you can kind of see it in with GPT-4. It's really, I
Yeah.
think that's what really make me crazy. Like with 3.5, it was November last year. It's like, it was explaining, it was like say, oh yeah, I can see this kind of cool machine learning. It's like, yeah, it's a machine learning. Is like, is it like a statistical parrot type of thing? Like with GPT-4, I just blew my mind. That was a moment where I say like, this is something I need to get myself involved into it, or else that's it. Because I just realized how good it is at reasoning,
Yes.
and like Rush, right? And yeah, I'm very sad that I don't have access to the API of GPT-4, but I have a Plus subscription, so I can play with it. Now let's do this test with the mathematical models, right? So now that we learned that big language models are able to do reasoning, now the part of the application, for example, for the financial planning or like legal thing, or like lots of applications we're actually looking for is we're trying to use their reasoning capability of the language models, beyond the natural language understanding and natural language generation. So let's look at a model example like this, where so here's our example of another complex mathematical financial thing. So mathematics can be applied anywhere. There's a bunch of papers published on mathematical capability to GPT-4, mathematical capability language models, and people kind of shown that it can improve with the chain of thoughts. It can improve with external tools. And then now GPT-4 with the tools, for example, can GPT 3.5 is not able to pass chartered financial planner test by itself. GPT-4 is also not able to pass this financial tests. Basically, kind of they ask also the questions about investment. It's a chartered personal financial planners, also accounting exams. But when you give the mathematical capability, external tools to the language model like GPT-4, then they can pass very, very highly the exam. And so here's an example here. So we say, imagine I have a $200,000 portfolio of money. Now I'm taking out $4,000 every month to pay. Like I'm retired, I'm gonna take a sabbatical, start a company, something like that, or go travel. I'm gonna take out of that thing 4,000 out and live for a while. How long would it last me? My this nest egg, like 200,000. How much I can take out to put it in my cash and then use it for my expenses that are $4,000 a month, right? So that's something we want to do. Now, mathematically, this is well, if you just say 2,000 divided by 4,000, that's wrong because like financial markets expanding, right? So you're getting a return, and then your expense also inflating. It's not just 4,000, right? So then we want to basically be able to model as this investment portfolio grows itself, and you take your 4,000 out, how long it lasts. So if you ask this from GPT 3.5, you can see you say things like I have a 200K portfolio. If I take 4,000 a month from it and the market grow at the rate of 4% per year, how long this portfolio will last in my retirement? So we don't even consider inflation. If you look at that, how GPT can solve this question is it actually make a mistake. It's hallucinating. So here it says years ago portfolio value divided by annual withdrawals. So that would be good if we assume the zero growth rate of market. But then it tries to model the growth rate and it says divided by growth rate divided by 12. That's totally wrong. It says 11 years. These are garbage. So it come up with some sort of fake mathematical formula
Yeah.
and just like talking random things.
Yeah,
That's why.
I'm laughing because I made a thumbnail for your talk, and made it a little bit as a joke. The ER saying that he's a dunce at math, but she is a dunce at math.
Just one question, because I'm quite good at prompt with AI, and I play a lot with 3.5
Okay.
and GPT-4, and I design myself some chatbots, so it's another story. But did you try to for example, add in your prompt some information about the personality of ChatGPT, for example, telling him that he is a financial expert or stuff like that? Because from my experience, it changed a lot the quality of the answer. So
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
okay. I mean, if you like, we
just
can
one
try
question.
right away. Or we can
Oh
try it right
yes,
away.
yes.
Yeah. Right here,
Great,
I
great.
can write it. I'm a
So yeah, I'm a
financial
financial planner
expert.
expert,
Yeah.
or
I have 100K. Oh no, you are. You have to say. Right?
yes, you exactly. Yes, you.
You are. Sorry. Maybe you can edit this out of the actual thing, but I think it's worth trying.
Yeah.
You're a financial planning expert. I have 200K.
Or you can copy paste maybe. No, it's a picture, so you got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Portfolio investment. Yes. Yeah. On stocks. Yeah. But grow at a rate of 4. Yeah.
Like that.
Yep. Something like that. Yeah. Okay, wait.
Where did you get the 3%?
I don't know. From the growth rate.
No, it's
Why?
wrong, right? Like it's 40 years.
Yeah.
That's
No,
totally wrong.
nope. Yeah, and I don't know where he put out this 3%.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hallucinating.
Yes.
3.5 can solve this. I think if you ask them, I think now you will see, now that we're live with this. Let's go. Let's try with the GPT-4.
Yeah.
And I
I
think
think it will be
with
quite
4 you will see the
different.
difference
Yes.
of, so like now it's able to do. Okay, now here you actually wrote the Python code for it.
Yeah.
This is actually that's why 4 is so smart. Look at this one, right? So it says, let's see how we solved it. So it says, let's calculate the growth rate per month. Okay, so this monthly growth rate. This is actually a very good thing. It's actually
Yes.
this dividing it by 1/12 only true if the percentage is small. So
Yeah.
it actually understood this. So good. That's a good assumption.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, this 51. Ooh. Yeah, no, that's wrong. 51.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good start, but it's not a good.
Yeah. This is a bit of a mistake. Right? Now, the funny thing is, if you regenerate, sometimes they come up with different questions. Right? Now,
Yes.
in this case,
Yes. Of course. Yes. Due to the randomness of the model. Yeah.
Now it says 19 years again in the wrong.
Yes.
So yeah. Now here's the magic. How do we make the GPT-4 actually reason?
Yes.
Because what it's doing is just trying to do things, right? So let me show you how we make it to actually reason, and then see where it goes.
Yeah.
So in my previous try, what it did is that it actually used this annuity formula, which is grabbed it from its knowledge base.
Yeah.
But there's a mistake here, because this is when you're actually contributing to it. So this future value of the money is equals to your contribution every month. Like this formula is correct if you're contributing to it and it's grow.
Yeah.
When you take it out, that's not correct, right? And then it comes back with some sort of like does this mathematical operations, and it tells me 200 months. That's totally wrong. So if you ask though, write a Python code for the above question. This is going to solve it correctly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I saw that,
So,
and it's quite amazing because.
So So now, how amazing is that when you ask the GPT? So now look at this. Look at the formula, like a code. It says portfolio balance 4,000, withdrawal at 4,000,
Mm-hmm.
annual rate fantastic. So there's a monthly growth rate, correct? And
Mm-hmm.
it goes in. It writes the simulation actually. It says while portfolio balance more than 5,000, go in every month,
Yeah.
withdraw
Withdrawal.
monthly withdrawal, calculate the growth rates at that end of the month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the portfolio balance times that, and then iterate
Yeah.
until your thing goes to zero. Now I need to take this thing and then go execute this
Yeah.
into an external tool. Now here's where you need to give LLM tool. I'm going to say, imagine I go to Replit, which is a web-based thing. Let me just make a little Python thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if I put this here, run. And that's why it's like ChatGPT plugins are so powerful, where they give so language model can't solve this. The funny thing is, it can't.
Yes. 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 Yes.
You
He
have to
knows how to do it.
stimulate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 years and 7 months. That's the correct number.
Yeah. And did you try, because sometimes you can design the knowledge database used by the AI to answer the question. So did you try to nourish his mind, if I can say, with financial books and data and stuff like that? Because this is what I do in, for example, in IP law, and I have designed a chatbot that can reason, can make reasoning about legal questions, and very high, difficult legal questions sometimes. So, and because of course its database is nourished by, of course, IP laws, books and articles.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's correct. So you could do. It depends on the reason, the problem you're solving, right? So like the problem, if the problem you're solving, like I think if you look at a, like for example, GRE, a verbal, like or law, like a bar exam, things like that. They are actually like, if you look at a bar exam questions, they're just logic questions. They're not like I mean, there are some legal knowledge questions, but fundamentally they're logic questions. Like you need to kind of look at all the facts and put a fact in this and this, like
Mm-hmm.
so. So these are language models very good at it. The question is like it can induce those things, those problems, and then solve those problems by itself. And that's why GPT-4 passed the law exam, but GPT-3.5
Yes.
couldn't. Now these type of problems we're talking about, they're not like just logic. You actually need to run a simulation,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that
Right.
goes back to my original talk. Like you said, that this is slide, right? You
Yes.
need to
Yes. Yes.
do like some problems in society are not like a law. It's like to be a more rational human. It's not just like being able to have a very good logical capability. You
Yeah.
need to actually build a mathematical model.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. So no logic, no formula exists, and that's why it's trying to, like, you see GPT-4 trying to come up with a formula. It's going through
Mm-hmm.
searching which formula I can find. But there's no formula. You can't solve this problem with a formula. It's like the closed form, like mathematical closed form formula, does not even exist. You
Yes.
need to
Yes. Yes.
do a loop,
Yeah.
and you see it here. It did it. You need to create this type of loop,
Yeah. So
and
he's
the loop
able
is
to do
simple.
it, but he can't run it. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
can't run it. So it can't answer you. You can write a Python code, but it can't run it. So maybe it doesn't do
Yeah.
it. But it should basically tell you this is a problem, requires a simulation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Please, I will generate your Python code, go and simulate,
Yeah.
go run it somewhere else. I'm not going to be able to answer your question by just formula word like. And if you ask this question from a financial planner, same thing. A human financial planner tell you also, so here's how you would need to calculate it, but I need a calculator to be able to tell you.
Yes.
And goes
Yes.
in and do a calculation, or do it like, basically in this case, go write to Excel. Write to Excel, says here's your portfolio 20,000. Every row you're taking 4,000 out. Your investment go up, like literally there's like 3-4 columns, right? And then you can think about it how you would do it in Excel, right? And then that's your question. Like when it gets to zero, that's where your portfolio finish. Okay, so now here's our question. How do we now? Let's go a bit more complicated, because this is actually a very simple problem. Take 4,000 out. Let's do another kind. So when we say, we have also inflation, and
Yeah.
look, and we have also inflation. We have also like I can do this and that. Like sometimes my income is also, I have another income. I take this income. If there's another example where I showed like maybe in the middle when my investment became like $50,000, then I get scared and I start
I
working
stopped. Yeah.
part-time,
Yeah.
augmenting with another questions until I can last a bit longer. So if you ask this question again, so basically like, you can go for fun, try it. I've tried it before, and you can ask this and try to ask ChatGPT for to even generate you code. When the situation becomes more complicated, even that code is buggy
Yeah.
and creates problems. So it's like that type of more complicated modeling things, and mostly it's because of like really the concept of zero shot and like just asking about all these concepts. Like, we can, if you like, we can just try it, right? So like here, if I say another assumptions,
Yeah.
and there is an 7% inflation increasing my expenses. How does it last? Now I say write the Python code to solve this.
Yeah.
Would not be able to solve it.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
now let's see how inflation rate modeled. So you can see here it says
Zero amount. Yeah.
it's a portfolio value, right? It calculates the growth rates, it calculates the withdrawal amount correctly, and it's also pushing the withdrawal amount according to inflation rates. So perfect.
Yeah.
They solved it correctly. It's like, right, something like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but maybe in this version 2 and 4, I remember last few maybe 2-3 months ago when I tried it. Sometimes it got it correctly, sometimes it didn't.
Yeah, because there is this randomness part. So
Yeah, and also depends. So like, okay, if I say look, let's do another test. Now we're testing live. Let's add this condition.
yes, that
and
you stop
if,
withdraw when the no.
and if my
Yeah.
portfolio goes to 100K, then I will start a
Job.
part-time
Yeah. Part-time
job
job.
with $1,000 per. How long it lasts?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
you can see it. So it does the growth of portfolio. It
yeah.
extracts withdrawal in each loop, right? So it calculates it while.
Yeah. If portfolio below. Yeah.
You have your part-time income minus portfolio amount, and then
Yeah.
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Perfect.
But as you said, there is this randomness part. So sometimes it's correct, sometimes it's not, and
Yeah.
it's quite impossible to know when it will be correct or not. I mean, if we don't know the answer. So
I think it becomes a question of like Sunday. I mean, this type of augmenting LLM with the ability to execute code. So you ask them to reason, write the code, and then so this is very powerful. I mean, it takes us like this tooling. That's how they did it. So like the paper, I have to send you later on with to put it in the comments. The way they did it is that they allowed GPT-4 to execute commands
yes,
like that,
yeah,
and execute code.
yeah,
And this GPT-4 can pass chart to financial planners with the tool. Without it, it can't do. But
okay,
with it, we'll be able to do it. Now, so you already is like smarter than an average person who can pass a financial planner, expert financial planner or accounting exams. But we are still not satisfied in our journey to build the models that can do very complicated stories. So, for example, it's a scenario like that where you have two incomes, you have car loans, you have living costs, you have
yeah,
portfolio,
yeah,
you have
yeah,
a house, you have a rental property. So, in these situations, now if you think about how do I get people, I mean, people, how would I make people to help people with the system? Now, we're talking about a process in which we have a mathematical model that exists in the background, and that mathematical model is deterministic. That's a digital twin of, say, personal finance. In these situations, we're talking about income exists, cash exists. So we model cash flow, and we model different assets, appreciation of various assets. We can connect them to the external data sources. So as the real estate markets or financial markets changing, we can kind of adjust these asset values. Or car depreciates, we adjust this value, right? And So basically, we can kind of build this model. It's actually quite straightforward to build a cash flow projection model for business or personal finance. Or like, um, now we have this model. The question becomes, how do I make people to interact with it? Because
Yeah.
if I give this model to somebody like a complex Excel model or Python model, that also people can use it. And that's kind of that's basically a story here of basically building from a technical concept. How do I make a product, a digital product, a software that people can use and take benefit? And that becomes this story of okay, you use the knowledge and reasoning capability GPT-4, you use the mathematical model that you already built, and
Yeah.
we want to connect these two together. So not we don't want to like necessarily don't ask GPT-4 write me Python code, because we know there's a breaking point in which it would not be able to write the best Python code. So and like this complex model we just explained here with all these assets and all that, just the model itself going to be like hard to debug even, like just like it's going to be a very big thing. So I want to write a model that I know is correct once, and I call it the digital twin model, right? So it's very detailed. It pulls all data from different sources. It's a very thorough, well-tested model of the cash flow and balance sheets of an individual. I want GPT-4 to talk to this model and be able to adjust its values, read its content, and go back and forth and talk to it. But I also want then for my users also to be able to have an intuitive UI where they can use this natural language prompts. It's like talk about saying, here's my assets, here's my income, go and do this for me, and be able to like go and interact with the model and also with the GPT-4, and then be able to the three of these together. That's like our holy grail. That's we can make humanity more rational with these. So step one, how we make GPT-4 talk to a financial model. So this is a question of connecting a mathematical model to a language model. And this is a trick that I've done, and there are different ways to do it. It's really the question is, so if you look at retrieval, and the way you connect external knowledge to the language model is through this embedding. Like, people like imagine that you were talking about a legal text. We have tons of legal text. We say GPT-4, please don't use your own knowledge. I know you're good at reasoning.
Exactly.
We want to use your reasoning capability. Just use please, like the case law, right? Like wrote the case law for itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, go pick up the case law from these fields. You do your reason. So the way to do it is that like people have done is like basically they create an embedding.
Yeah.
So they basically turn those external text into into a vector, turn the question persons come and ask a question from GPT-4. They also turn that question into a vector.
Yeah.
They call them embedding. They match the embeddings to see if it matches. Then they pick up all the paragraph that they think that matches that question.
Yes.
Become like a chunk of text, paragraph, and then they just feed all these paragraphs to the GPT-4 and say, answer this question given this paragraph
Yes.
of information. So we almost here do the same thing. So we say, okay, ask a question. I say, can I buy a house? Let me show you the app. Maybe give you a better idea around how the app is, and then you will see how the back and forth is. So if I'm come here, so I'm going to go to the app. I think it's more helpful to see.
That's wonderful what you have done.
Yeah,
I see it coming. So yeah, it's great.
yeah, so I'm coming here. I say, so it opens up with something canvas. So I come in here and say, draw me a canvas. And what I like to draw is by basically tell a story. I say, I have a household with an income of 4,000, 5,000. I have a mortgage. I have a car. I have a portfolio, and so on. Then I have this story, right? I say, we spent 200, 2,000, 2,500 on living expenses, 2,000 on bills, 1,000 on travel and discretionary, something like that. And I have a stock portfolio. Then it picks up and draws me this canvas. You can see these things are quite live. So here's my income.
Wow.
Here's my expenses. Here's my mortgage. Here's my car loan. Here's my stock portfolio. Here's my house. And I can change it. So, for example, you see this situation, my cash is going to zero. That means like I'm staying here. My portfolio increasing. My house value is increasing with the growth of real estate market. my expenses are growing with the rate of inflation, my mortgage is declining with the rates that I'm paying it. So right, see all these things model. This is coming from a mathematical model, right? It's
Yeah.
very deterministic. And my car loan similarly increasing. Now I'm basically coming in and then I say, for example, my contribution is now 2,000 to my investment. If I contribute less, now my cash is increasing. For example, you can see that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
And
that's wonderful.
now I can ask a question from GPT-4. I can
Yeah,
ask
yeah,
it, say
yeah,
like,
yeah.
how much money I have in 5 years. Now, if you ask this, if you explain that paragraph with GPT,
Yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah,
say how much money I have,
you can't.
it wouldn't. And you didn't even explain the inflation, and you didn't explain the the connect the mortgage and like car loan.
Yes,
It
yes.
wouldn't. It wouldn't. Maybe it would be able to write a Python code. I don't know.
So you can
But
ask him also if you can buy a new house in 2 years, for example, something like
yeah,
that.
so like that's what it says. Like how much money I have in 5 years. It says me you have what's this? Talking to somebody. It says all my assets. Oh, I said how much money. So you're going to explaining everything to me.
Yes, everything. Yeah,
And in 5 years, future monthly income will be 5. Monthly expense is going to be like that. Oh, I should have said how much cash I have. How much
yes, yes.
cash I have because I want to buy something. In 5.
That's amazing. I mean, it's wow, it's
So it
great.
says $51,000.
Yeah.
Then I can say, can I buy a house worth? Or maybe I'm thinking about a rental house. I have a house. I want to buy another house.
Yes.
Rental house worth 300K. A little apartment, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
At that time.
Oh, this is wonderful.
You would tell me. So how was able to do it? So that's what I'm going to show you, right? How was able to do it? I'm going to show you under the hood, right? So how does
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is okay. So it says based on the financial summary data, it's not recommended to buy a house. Why? Because your total liability will be 400,000. Your available cash is 51,000. So it looks at the down payment, right? It says your monthly expenses will be like that. It basically says like 200K. If I put 20% down, how much it would be? Sorry, what's the 150? Yeah, it's about 50K. 60,000, right? So if I want to buy this house with 20% down payment, I need to put $60,000. I don't have enough, so I have $51,000. Now now you like it. I'm sure this one, right? So I'm reducing my living expenses to be able to save that, right? So I'm reducing maybe I reduce my travel and entertainment to 500.
Yes.
And then I reduce my living expenses to 2,000. Right? I'm going to be more frugal. Now I'm going to ask. Now my cash is increasing at a faster rate. Now I'm going to ask, can I buy that house? Can I buy that house now? Let's see what it says. So it basically the way the memory here works is because of the in context, because I keep the context in memory. It's still not possible. Why not?
Because probably you say no, so it's right now for him. It's not in 5 years, I think.
You're right. Sorry,
yeah.
You're smarter than that. Yeah. I'm just brushing a bit.
I play a lot with
5
it.
years.
Yes.
And I buy that house in 5 years. So now I can't do because right now I have like 3,000 cash.
I see a great opportunity for you and for your app for people who, as individual who buy flat or house to rent it, so you can ask your app, hey, this is my financial situation, income, expense, etc., and my assets. I have a house, etc. I have a woman and I have children.
Yeah.
And I would like to buy this flat, to rent it at X euro or dollar per month. Can I afford it or not? Or is it a good deal? Compared to my financial situation.
Yeah. So this says yes, it is possible now to buy it in 5 years.
This is.
And I can ask him like why, or like now I can ask questions that now I can go to the GPT pure modes. Like, what's a mortgage? Why do we need
Yeah, exactly.
20%?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can ask now a question like, how do I get a mortgage? What does that mean? Uh, like, what's the closing cost mean? So I can ask those questions that before I ask now, but I have a financial model behind
Yeah.
the GPT. So
So
how do we do it? Is we do the same thing as we do with this type of like a questionnaire. So every time you ask a question, can I buy a house? We basically embed a summary
yeah,
of financial data from a financial model into the context. So we basically bring in the context that data. Now your model like basically says cash flow summary. Your cash is like that. Your income is like that. Your expense is like that. So then GPT-4 is able to know based on the text provided. And I'm telling him say, so this is in the background, right? The user is not going to see it.
yeah,
But here it says, remember and use the following financial summary data in your future reports. And we'll call this and use that. And now here's the challenge is you can't put everything into this. So the next iteration is that you have to ask GPT-4 to tell you what it needs.
mm,
And so imagine like I ask a question, GPT-4 says, now you see trick here. If I ask him right now, can I buy a house in 4 years? It wouldn't know because I didn't put in summary what happens in 4 years.
yes,
GPT-4
yes,
has to ask a question. I need the data about 4 years of this and this and this element. And that's what this concept of you see with the agents where, and I think OpenAI just released the capability on function calling. Um, this report it came out uh,
yes,
4 days ago, June 13. Now you can ask when you're asking a question, you can say, "What's the weather looks like?" A GPT-4 is allowed. They build this functionality function component to it. It can return a function call. Say, in order for me to answer this question, I need the API call with the location and the
yeah,
unit. And this is the same thing. So like we need to kind of ask GPT-4 say like, oh, to answer this question, I need to know your available cash in 4 years. Call the model. Model go in to API, return a value. Then we return to GPT-4. We say,
yeah.
here's your data. Use this information to answer your question, and then we'll be able to answer that question. I haven't implemented that yet, and that's what I'm working right now to basically do this back loop where
Yeah.
GPT-4 asks for data itself
Yeah, yeah.
autonomously, and
It's crazy.
No, that's great. I mean, it's wonderful. Very great job. Wow.
Thank you very much. To be honest, people, this actually haven't had a huge commercial attraction so far, and I think it has to do maybe some with my ability to market it, but also people though still have a hard time understanding like building the models. And if I'm there to explain to them, I think they
No,
understand,
but
but
yeah,
by themselves they're not able to. I would encourage you to go to the app and just try it by yourself. See, like maybe there's a problem.
yeah.
It's not as easy
Uh,
to work. This concept of modeling is a bit hard for people to grasp. I
but
mean,
we
we are
will.
here very
Yeah,
quantitative.
I think we will discuss about that together. Be after this interview. We have a lot
Yeah,
of things to discuss.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Happy to chat. Anybody, any of your audience as well. I'm in easy to find me on LinkedIn. My name is quite easy to catch. Yeah, so I'm gonna finish this talk. We are almost there. By this one more trick that I want to show you on how to interact my financial model with the mathematical model and GPT-4, and that's where area where we want to do, for example, a text. So like this, we want to do this hub. We have a natural text. We want to build a model, and remember that concepts of we ask write the Python code. So GPT-4 able to write the Python code. Now
Yeah,
our code is big and it's already established as a mathematical model. We want a natural text generate this model or parameters of this model. And here we're not just changing like number. We don't know how many houses you have. You don't know how many expenses you have, incomes you have. You basically want to generate these entities on the fly. Like
mm,
it's like here, like imagine, oh, I'm looking at like 2026, have a kid. It's like I want to generate a new expense and say, oh, here's my kids, and then creates an expense. Say, okay, well, like I need a for daycare. I'm going to send it. So, and then if I generate these, now my cash flow is changing differently, right? So now you can see it
yeah.
was growing. Now that I have a kid, is no longer growing, like starting to plateau. So, so people need to modify the model, right? How do we do that? Um, so the trick is that we want to basically go from a natural language to a model established. You need to pass this kind of like story that you can use this domain specific language. So this domain specific language is something like this. In the model, I'm drawing all those shape you see. So it's like you can see under the hood that's a code
Yeah.
running. So as you can see, there's a rectangle, text, ellipse, and then arrow and all that. There's also a financial arrow in here, like there's a cash, income, transaction, expense, and this is all connected. The connectivity of these have a particular meaning for the model. So the model
Yeah.
will understand these. If I give them this array, it will generate the model, and it can execute or simulate the model. But I need to give him this like structure, a very particular language. Right? That's why it's a domain-specific language. So so we have a financial model. We need to build a layer, a
Yeah.
language to be able to talk to that model. And this language is these relationships. Like if you have a cash, create a cash box, put a value into it. If you have a income, put a value in it. Transaction connected and connection to transaction has a 2 points. It's like a graph, has beginning and end. And this is what it means. So it's like we need to build this language on top of our model. And then we bridge the gap with the entity. So we ask our language model to extract entity for us. So if I say, here's my house, given this income, mortgages, like that, right? It's natural text. I can tell him, and this with this new capability that just came out, this function calling, this algorithm is way improved. It wasn't as good before. Now it can tell you mortgage is $5,000, interest rate is this much. Car loan 40,000, interest rate I don't know, you didn't provide it. No, in expenses, living expenses 250,000, 2,500 monthly, right? So you can see that it extracted this data
Yeah.
from me, right? A house this much and so on. Then I basically bridge the gap. I ask my language model to generate me a very specific named entities, and then I can map these named entities through, again, a deterministic language, a deterministic program to my DSL. And the DSL now has a model. So now I can, what you saw in the demo, where I put this paragraph and it dropped me a canvas and all the model behind the scene. That's how we do it. We do go through this DSL dynamic. So that's all I have for now. If there's a particular question on these things, happy to answer.
Just again, it's an amazing work. It's really beautiful on the technical point of view, and the usefulness of this. I mean, everybody should have this kind of tool to manage their finance, their personal finance, and yes, I mean, yeah, really great work, because I know more or less how it works. So I know that it's not so easy to do that, and so I'm impressed, and yeah, I want to use it for sure.
Okay. Well, give it a try, and show it
Yes,
show it to other people too. If you
and
like it, I'm
then
happy.
yes, sure. If I can help you to expand also, I will do. Yeah, no, I don't have so many questions. It was crystal clear, the presentation. Yeah, Harry.
Yes, I have two type of question. The first one is the other application of your, let's say, your trick, to do math outside ChatGPT, because it was what we are talking about with Benjamin before.
Yes.
We were all thinking about artificial intelligence that can't do complex math by themselves, because the algorithms are not made for that. But you find a way to do math outside the system, and make it discuss together. And this is really impressive, even for someone like me, that who is a biologist by training. So I'm not I can't understand technically at the precision of Benjamin, but I understand the philosophy of what you have built. So this is, first of all, congratulations. This is very smart to have find this way of doing math to artificial intelligence. And my question is, could we apply this trick to other applications? I have one in mind, is the dynamics of crowds, which is a very important field of research. you know, when you have a crowd in a concert, you have a crowd in a city, and you have a crowd of birds who are flying. There are many mathematical models that already have
Yeah.
already been written and tested by mathematicians and physicians. Could we now connect these mathematical models with ChatGPT, with your system?
Okay, so it's actually very interesting that you're mentioning this idea around this like a crowd model. So it's like you're basically referring to, that's really funny because I have this slide here, right here. You're referring to the agent-based models, and these are basically you model every agent or playing, like for example for the economy, you're talking about, you know, each individual and each company. So these are like each individual is here, yeah, they're worker or investors or they're you know, old person or a kid, and there are companies, and you can model this interaction, all these dynamic here. So it's like,
Mm.
you know, for example, people pay taxes to the government. Government have a central bank, they can get a loan. Banks get the reserve and interest they pay to the central loans. Companies get a loan from banks, put deposits, individual pay deposits. Individuals collect wages from companies. Um, Companies give dividend to individuals. Individuals consume from the companies and their buyers and the foreign exports and imports. So you can model the entire economy if you know, if you're agent here. So that's the type of model you're talking about, right? It's like that's the type of model we need for modeling, and people are
Mm.
doing it like that. Like Sebastian Polledna, which is a fantastic pioneer and economist based in Austria. He has a big research team, and many people working on this agent-based model. And that's where I started. That story came from, and so the question, look, to answer your question specifically, LLM and these type of models. Again, you're talking about. I mean, you can interface them and like that.
Yes, there are many mathematical models to describe complex
Yeah.
sociological dynamics. It could be people in a concert, you know, moving
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
have an
Yeah.
emergency, and you have
Yeah.
a you have a dynamic, you know, and but not just that. There are many other models. That
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
question is, you know, to connect this model to ChatGPT with your trick, you know.
That's the story. I mean, the trick is that you this type of model GPT never able to build like so you need, so these are things like, yeah, you can use it as external tool, right? Now
Mm,
the way to do it is to, so I mean, so far what I'm proposing here is like, if you want to use if you want people to interact with the model, build model, use this DSL dynamic. So you put
mm,
a layer of the domain specific language and you let people to interact with it, and then if you want answer questions, say like, if I should do that, they need to extract information from that model, put it into context of the language model. That's what we know about language model for now, because we're limited their context, and then get that data in. And then the capability to tools, like you need to ask your GPT model your language model has to tell you, I need this data. Go in and inspect this part of the model. So how do you give your model? And that's an open question. I don't know it myself. How do you give a mental model of your model to GPT-4? And that's part of the prompt engineering part of it. So your GPT language model has to understand the logic of this, and then be able to ask for tools. Ask, say, give me the dividends the company's paying.
mm,
Did you try or play with AutoGPT?
Yeah, so that's AutoGPT ideas, right? So like you go
Yes.
in, so like, so AutoGPT kind of like has an understanding of the logic of like how the world works, and it can try. So like the auto stuff is like trying. Maybe you go in, you discover certain things. Like imagine our investment portfolio type of
Yeah.
thing, right? Ask a question. Oh, this is ridiculous. Like, so you have some sort of tool to kind of say, yeah, if you say like 200 years, that portfolio not gonna last 200 years. So go back and fix something, and then like,
Yeah.
and these are open questions. Like I don't know how to make our language model to really understand the logic behind the model.
Yeah.
Um, and sorry, but just expanding on that is like the question of, I think the philosophical nature of this is, can language model do symbolic reasoning? That's
mm,
really the words you need to look for. Like, you know, the research is like, I think I mean there's another paper I saw the other day that language models are actually not good at symbolic reasoning. They're sorry, I can't remember the name, but if you Google it by symbolic reasoning in language models, if we can make future of our language models, our AI systems, able to do symbolic understanding, so it's like, and that's how kind of humans understand that. That there's a concepts around these again, that's where it goes in, the space expand.
And I
Yeah,
see, I
totally
think
unknown. Yeah.
I see a future use case because what you are doing right now, we can imagine that tomorrow people will just have to use natural language, natural text, and then you can use probably also some quantum computing resources. I mean, you could write the code, the model could be in Python, yes, but to interact with a quantum computer, and then it will be easier for everybody to use, for example, a quantum simulation about a precise problem because you just have to explain it in plain text without the need to code everything as you are doing right now. I mean, so it could be a next step in, I don't know, a few years maybe, just to help people to use quantum computing without any knowledge about how to use it exactly. You see what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not familiar with the quantum computing to understand deeply, but I see where you're going.
No, it's wonderful what you have done. Yeah, really.
Thank you very much.
uh, I said I have two type of question, and now I have my second type of question, and I would like to make a link with what with the expertise of Benjamin, that is intellectual property
Yeah,
expert.
that was my next question. Yes, go.
Let's see if you have the same question. So you showed us what you have discovered and put in place openly. Now we are in live, every
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
in the public space now. Maybe Benjamin, you could say me, I was wrong to invite Sina for that. Maybe you could have discuss with him to find a way to protect his strict
I hope it
maybe.
was already done. Did you file a patent application regarding your invention? I
No,
mean,
no,
your
I haven't.
product, or
I mean, these are not necessarily. I mean, there are some interesting concepts here in terms of like using language models, using tools, and I mean, there's papers like that published. So, um, yeah, I don't think. I mean, look, if you like, if you think about like what the business moat here is, really the use is very important, right? So people actually come in using the system, makes the systems much better because you can feed in the data that people provide to actually understand, build the
yes,
agent
yes.
image model. So and yeah, so I mean, some interesting things exist here. I haven't patented it, but we can work on it, for sure. At this stage, I'm trying to really launch this, show this to people, and raise interest in it, and then raise funds and basically follow up.
Yeah, because just for raising funds, I mean, patents are quite powerful. So it could be interesting to think about it, to see if there is something to patent, because
Yeah,
in particular for fundraising, it's quite important because, uh, as you probably know, it's an intellectual property right. So that means
sure, sure, sure.
it's a conversion from your brain juice into real money, a very valuable asset for your company. So it could be, I think, quite interesting to think about patenting something. Of course, not something that has already disclosed. So
What we have shown today,
when
is now online and is on the public space.
so yes, so you will have, or we will have to dig a little deeper in what you have done to see if there is something to be patented. But I think it's, yeah, you should ask this question to
Yeah.
yourself,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
mainly
No, good
for
point.
the fundraising part, and it's not because you have a patent that you can distribute it in an open source way if you want, or I mean, you can do what you want when you have the patents. I mean, you can have it's like having a home in a technological field. So you
Yes.
can,
Yes. Yes.
of course, you can invite everybody to come in, or you can just say, oh, you can, you not, and stuff like that. So you have more degree of freedoms, I would say, with a patent that without.
Sure. For sure.
No,
Well,
very beautiful. Yes, again,
absolutely.
because it's technically it's great because I see, because it's not on this use case, but I have thought about, for example, creating an AI to help me write patent application. So there is some reasoning part also, of course, and so I see the technical difficulties that you have overcome, and I see also the impact on the world. I mean, if people can use this tool, they will manage. They will be more rational with their money. It's very interesting, and we can even imagine a coach. I mean, a financial coach, and when you want to buy something, you can have a beep that says, wait, 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 wait. Don't
Yeah.
forget that in 2 months you have to pay that, or keep in mind that you wanted to keep some money to buy a new car, or so this is really powerful. I mean, it's a financial brain that you have created.
Yes, absolutely. Just imagine you
Thank you
had
very much. Yeah.
a chatbot overlaying your app, talking with the guy who is feeling using your app, and say, yeah, maybe you should buy a flat to rent it or not, or something like. Is great. Yes, the idea is great.
That's the idea. We'll see.
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Well,
Now,
Sina, it was a wonderful moment. If Benjamin, you have maybe last question, maybe we can.
no, just congratulations and
Congratulations. Yeah,
keep going forward, because it's not easy, and the technical part is not easy, but the business part and the startup part is not easy at all. It's completely different skills. So it's yes, keep
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
and don't hesitate if we can
Yeah.
help you or anything.
Sure. Sure.
Yes, because again, it's a project with a great impact on the world, and this is the kind of project that we love. Uh, because it's not only to make money. I mean, the idea, of course, we need to make money. We need to pay where we live, what we eat, but it's useful for people. It will help people. So it's a great project. Yes, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much for having enthusiasm, and thank you very much for inviting me and having a chat. That was lots of fun.
it
Yes,
was
our pleasure.
pleasure. It was
Okay.
a great pleasure. And guys, if you like this kind of event, the next live is about it's in French. I invited Dr. Jean-Denis Taupin, which is an eminent geologist studying on the water in not phreatic. I don't know how we say it in English. Sorry.
Underneath water, let's say.
Exactly. Thank you,
Yes.
Benjamin. So we are in a water crisis everywhere. So if you want to understand how it works, and not listening to Greta Thunberg and other idiots around there, but real scientists who know what they are talking about, just join. We have a great expert, and then we will talk about with Roy Mesler, with Benjamin. Uh, he's an expert in IP also, but all of the Israeli ecosystem. He will talk about why Israel is such a great company, I would say, or such a great for startups and innovation. So thank you very much, both of you, and to all people who listen to us. Thank you so much, and see you next time.
Yes. Thank you very much.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Bye.